Today, we're looking at a red ink by Levenger Fireball. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. And if you like videos like that, I would invite you to subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram, and there's timestamps down below so that if you are in a hurry, you can skip around. But if you got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then inked up this Noodler's Neponset with a music nib, wrote with it for a day, and then took the notes for this video. In order to have some standardization while looking at writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper, although there are additional writing samples that occur much later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in bottle form because that's pretty much how I know you can get Levenger inks. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 3 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not quite as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 4 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're not getting it. Tomoe River has no bleeding and normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 5 seconds to dry. It's 5 seconds on Tomoe River. That's right. Medium is about the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get any. And last up here is the Rhodia with no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Extra fine is a lot lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 4 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 6 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both, the scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation. The medium shows a little bit, but it's really not there in the writing. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see a very, very pronounced yellow at the bottom that pushes its way, and it does specifically come to an end that we see water separation when the red then comes in. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And that yellow is really bonding with this filter paper. Not a lot of it is pushing up. We see a lot of water separation, and then that red at the top. It does make you wonder if the yellow is going to be a hangout kind of color. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, this is perfectly safe to use in a note-taking situation if you want to go back and highlight, because nothing bad happens. Water is lifting the red, but not the yellow, and not even all of the red. Pen flush is removing all of the red, but that yellow is very much bonded with the paper. I had to use pen flush to get this completely out of my pen. Water wasn't enough for me. Now the 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it. It's leaving a little bit of a staining behind. It's kind of a yellowish staining, but you're not going to need the 1/3 bleach to get this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Now I'm going to link a video where I show how I test it and how I calculate the data. Levenger's Fireball has a viscosity of 1.82, making this a wet ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average all of those. Now, for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Levenger's Fireball has an average dry time of 5 seconds, making this a very fast drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Levenger's Fireball, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to go with a nice brown and chose Private Reserve's Ebony Brown. The second writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia and white lines paper. Here we're looking at the yellow Rhodia paper, not to see any kind of performance change, but really all of that yellow that came up in the chromatography had me wondering if we were going to get any kind of major tone change that would happen for adding a yellow paper. And the thing is, no. I really did expect to see it have some kind of lightning effect here because of the chromatography, but it really had no effect. This is just, it gets into the paper too fast for the yellow backdrop to change it at all. And it's probably quite opaque. White lines paper does have a bit of bleeding that's going on. Okay, it does have a bit of show through that's going on. It's not really made for fountain pen inks. The extra fine had more bleed through spots than the medium. It did not touch the page underneath, but it might stop you from using the back of the page. Now the stub had no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine was lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 1 second to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, just a hair lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 2 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we got none. And that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Levenger's Fireball? I've been oddly really enjoying using this one, even though it has a bit of a scream on the page. It really lets you know you're there. I use it at times when I really want to draw the most attention and make my eyeballs bleed over something that I've done. But it's not bad. It really does scream on the page, "Look at this," which red inks should be used as warnings. This is a good warning sign. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? It does give color variation depending on what flow pen you put it into. Now I prefer it from a very wet pen to really make this one scream on the page. And while I normally don't go for reds that do that, this one for some reason I don't find offensive to look at. So that's what I went with here. I'm going to remind you that I'm here every day with a new ink review. Thanks for watching.